What's up, everyone? It's the Autistic Scyther here, and this is part 3 of Top 10 Favorite Shiny Pokémon. You're wondering where parts 1 and 2 are? They're up on my channel now, so I suggest you watch that video before, unless you watch those two videos, before to see numbers 10 through 4, before coming back to see the remaining 3. And yes, things are going to get even more interesting. Especially in terms of stories. So, without further ado, let's get back into it. Moving on next, at number 3, we have Altaria. Oh boy. Alright. Remember back during Generation 7 when Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon were released? And back then, granted, while shiny Pokemon were easily found before then, this Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon gave us the Ultra Wormholes, which made it seem like it was the start for everyone to see shinies as, well, a little too oversaturated due to how easy it was to find shinies. Granted, I never saw it that way, mainly because I somehow wasn't lucky with finding shinies as other people were. But in all fairness, I had my fair share of shinies in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Well, mainly Ultra Sun. And honestly, it all started when they were released, as while I wanted Ultra Sun when it was originally released, before it came out, I ended up getting Ultra Moon, so certain Pokemon I wanted to get, I never got a chance to use until later. One of which being Dusk Form Lycanroc, which I didn't use until Scarlet during my Professor Oak's challenge, but that's neither here nor there. Either way, that being said, it's kind of fair to say that when I got Ultra Sun, I got a chance to use a lot of different Pokemon. However, in my efforts of traversing the Ultra Wormholes, and discovering the fact that I could end up capturing different Pokemon there, I was actually I never expected to find a shiny. But lo and behold, during one exploration of an Ultra Wormhole, I ended up finding a shiny Altaria. And in all fairness, it's very fair to say I was freaking out. Seriously. Because I was a little bit speechless as soon as I saw that. But soon after, I ended up screaming. Because I was so excited that because in my previous encounters with shinies, one of which being the Psyduck from earlier, I did not know that what I found was a shiny, and I didn't feel like it was real. But in this case, I knew that it was an actual honest-to-goodness shiny. And the fact that it was my third shiny, ever, save for, evolving the first two shinies, I was ecstatic. And it really says a lot because I found myself really enjoying everything. And the fact that Altaria went from a serene and cool blue coloration to a glorious, beautiful, and golden yellow color, like Golden Treasure, really does kind of fit with this beautiful Pokemon. Granted, I didn't keep this shiny because I like to start new playthroughs from time to time. But surprisingly enough, this we fast forwarded to a few years later to when I did my first ever Professor Oak's challenge in the Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. And let me tell you, that considering I was doing an Ultra Sun, that first Professor Oak's challenge was an ordeal. But it's very fair to say it was worth the wait, as I never expected to find another shiny Altaria in the same game and in the same way as initially. And keep in mind, I still own that cartridge. So basically, it's on this list because I found 2 shiny Altaria on the same cart, just several years apart from each other. So it really does stand out to me. At least that's a lot. Moving on, next at number 2, we have Hawlucha. Yeah. When it comes down to Generation 6, speaking of flying types, Hawlucha is, a kind of interesting one. Especially when it was announced and revealed in Pokemon X and Y as a Pokemon unfound that could be captured there, I was more or less not only intrigued, but excited to the point that I both wanted to use it and I wanted to find ways of making use of it. Because this thing is basically a Hawk Lucha Libre wrestler, which really does look pretty cool. And while I have not used it in Gen 8 or 9, all that much, Hawlucha is one of the few Pokemon I really like. I mean, same thing with the Hoennian line. But even with that, the fact that it's fighting flying type really puts things into perspective. Especially since now we added to that total with Flamigo. But that being said, Hawlucha is kind of an interesting... Even with that, my first notification, or the first time I ever saw Shiny Hawlucha, was in the Pokemon X and Y anime. And this was when Ash and his group, and Ash and his friends basically came across a theater production where Ash's Hawlucha basically served as a hero opposite a shiny Hawlucha, which acted as the villain. And honestly, I gotta say, shiny Hawlucha's colors look perfectly fitting for a villainous sort of character. Especially since Hawlucha is basically a face wrestler. This thing is more or less... Its shiny makes it look like a heel wrestler. Before the actual heel Pokemon in Incineroar. That being said, seeing Hawlucha and Dark Hawlucha basically facing off against each other was awesome, to the point it had me sitting at the edge of my seat. Honestly, I have to say, the biggest thing came during my Pokemon Scarlet and Violet Professor Oak's challenge. And in fairness, oh my god, Hawlucha was amazing. Really amazing. And in fairness, yeah. Keep in mind, I was not looking for it. I just found it somehow. And keep in mind, most of those were not me just looking for it. Most of those I found I was not looking for, so it has that aspect. But in all fairness, I wasn't complaining. And the fact that I had my own version of Dark Hawlucha really says a lot. And yeah, granted, it wasn't the one I had the most. It was both Lokix and two other Pokemon that I had the most shinies of, but again, not complaining. And yeah. Finally, at number 1, we have Gardevoir. Yeah. Well, okay. First things first. When I say I like Gardevoir's shiny, I mean I like its shiny. I mean, I'm not like a lot of people on the internet who love Gardevoir in a specific way, but in fairness, Gardevoir seems like an interesting Pokemon. And especially when you get to its inspiration. However, back during Generation 3, the Ralts line wasn't on my radar. Again, while I did use it, I wasn't keen on having it as a part of my team all that much. In fact, I didn't basically purposely seek out a Ralts to use on my team until Generation 4 when Gallade was introduced. And even further in Generation 6 when it got the Fairy type, as I took notice of Ralts' usability. And again, it was the physical special split that did it. But that being said, in fairness, while I have not gotten a shiny Gardevoir, it was kind of the X and Y anime that did it for me, as seeing it in the Volcanion movie was amazing. And naturally, in its normal form, shiny Gardevoir, or its hair going from green to a more blue color, is just a perfect kind of, well, simple change that makes things much more, well, amazing. But the big one was its Mega form, which changes its, well, elegant white dress to a more sleek, beautiful, and elegant black evening gown, which really fits Gardevoir's more feminine and almost mysterious quality, which really does say a lot. And while certain aspects really do say a lot, as again, and I've gotten a lot more appreciation of Gardevoir thanks to the Aeroland comics by Rakugai. Shout out to him for giving us our bubbly and quirky video game and anime loving Ingardy. That being said, also I really do like a shiny Kirlia as well, again as a reference to Serene from Rakugai's Aeroland comics. So, yeah. Basically, that's more or less why I like shiny Gardevoir, which really says a lot. That being said, those are my top 10 favorite shiny Pokemon. Like, comment, subscribe, And of course, join my Patreon. You don't have to, but if I'd be most appreciative if you join my Patreon at patreon.com/theautisticscyther, because every little bit helps. I need to take care of myself. And with that, I'll see you next time as we close out the month and Women's History Month.